Hello and welcome to today's episode, which deals with the operating system and disk operating system, or DOS. It will also inform you about the Windows and the UNIX operating system along with their importance. I am Amrita Ghosh Kumar, and the subject expert for this episode is Nazia Hussain, a Master's in Computer Application and MPhil, and presently teaching in the Bangalore University. Let us begin with taking a broad overview of the concept of operating system. Operating system. An operating system is a program which acts as an interface between a user and the hardware. An operating system is an important component of a computer system which controls all other components of the computer system. An operating system is a set of integrated programs which manages the overall performance and functioning of the computer system by controlling the resources such as the CPU, memory, input-output devices, and the overall flow of information within the system. The major component systems are 1. The hardware, 2. The operating system, 3. The application program routines, 4. The humanware or the users. Where hardware provides the basic computing resources, the application program routines define the way in which these resources are used to solve the computing problems of the users, and operating system controls and coordinates the use of the hardware among the various application programs for the various users. What is the role or job of the operating system? The operating system is the most important and crucial software on a computer system. In fact, a computer system cannot work without an operating system. This is because an operating system is responsible for carrying some very crucial jobs required for proper functioning of a computer system. 1. Allocation and assignment. The operating system allocates computer resources to the application jobs in the execution queue. It assigns locations in memory for data and instructions. It monitors carefully the contents of these items in memory and clears these items from memory when they are no longer required by the CPU. Number 2. Scheduling. The operating system determines the order in which jobs are processed. A job is an operation the processor manages. Jobs include receiving data from an input device, processing instructions, sending information to an output device, and transferring items from storage to memory and from memory to storage. Thousands of pieces of work can be going on in a computer simultaneously. The operating system coordinates the scheduling in various areas of the computer so that different parts of the different jobs can be worked on at the same time. Number 3. Configuring. To communicate with each device in the computer, the operating system relies on device drives. A device driver is a small program that accepts commands from another program and then converts these commands into commands that the device understands. Each device on a computer, such as the keyboard, the mouse, and monitor, has its own device driver. These drivers will not function unless the correct device driver is installed on the computer. Number 4. Monitoring. The operating system monitors the activities of the computer system. It keeps tracks of each computer job. It reports information about various system resources and devices such as the processor usage, the amount of unused physical memory, and network usage. It keeps track of who is using the computer or what programs have been run. It administers system security. It allows the authorized users to log on the system and keep track of any unauthorized attempts to access the system. Number 5. accessing the web. Operating system typically provides a means to establish web connections. For example, Windows XP includes a new connection wizard that guides you through the process of setting up a connection between your computer and your internet service provider. Some operating systems include a web browser and an email program, enabling you to begin using the web and communicate with others as soon as you set up the connections. Now let us look at the disk operating system, or the DOS. Microsoft's MS-DOS, or the Microsoft Operating System, was one of the most common operating systems used before the launching of Windows 95. There are many DOS-based software available, and even there were many PCs which run on DOS. Disk operating system refers to an operating system software used in most computers that provides the abstraction and management of secondary storage devices and the information on them. For example, file systems for organizing all sorts of files. Such software is referred to as a disk operating system when the storage devices it manages are made of rotating platters such as floppy disks or hard disks. DOS was developed in 1970s and captured a huge market share somewhere around 1980s. During this period, virtually every new PC ran on DOS. The most important strengths of DOS were its reliability and stability. The DOS system rarely crashed or rarely got hanged out. DOS was very easy to use if one masters the commands. Every time if one needs to execute any program, one had to type the command on the command line interface. These types of softwares were called as Character User Interface, or CUI. DOS is one of the first operating systems for personal computers. This operating system was a cut-down implementation of the control program or monitor operating system designed for the family of computers. MS-DOS was a renamed form of 86-DOS, informally known as the Quick and Dirty Operating System, or QDOS. The limitations of DOS: only one application can be processed at a time. It is a single user operating system, which means it can support only one user at a time. It was difficult to install and configure under DOS because each and every device required a unique driver. File in DOS-based systems were restricted to 8 characters and 3 characters for extension. DOS commands. Any instruction given to the computer to perform a specific task is called a command. The DOS has several commands, each for a particular task, and these are stored in DOS directory on the disk. DOS has 2 types of commands. A. Internal commands. The commands which are present in the internal memory of the computer are known as internal commands. Internal commands will operate from any DOS prompt. Internal commands are inbuilt commands of MS-DOS. That is, these are stored in command interpreter file, or command.com. These commands reside in the memory as long as the machine is at the system prompt level. To use these commands, no extra or external file is required. Example: date, time, dir, ver, etc. B. External commands. The commands which are stored in the external memory of the computer are known as external commands. These are separate utility commands which accompany the operating system and expands its usefulness. If one is using external command on the floppy, one needs to insert it in the computer. If you are using it on the hard disk, you need to copy all the external command on the hard disk. Therefore, it is necessary to insert separate disks to execute external commands. These are separate programs or .com files that reside in DOS directory and when executed behave like commands. An external command has predefined syntax. For example, help, DOSKey, backup, restore, format, etc. The basic DOS commands. A. Directory commands. dir, to list all or specific files of any directory on a specified disk. md, to make directory or subdirectory on a specified disk or drive. cd or chdir, change DOS current working directory to specified directory on specified disk or to check for the current directory on the specified or default drive. rmdir or rd, removes the specified subdirectory only when it is empty. This command cannot remove root directory or current working directory. Tree displays all of the directory paths found on the specified drive. Path sets a sequential search path for the executable files if the same are not available in the current directory. subst substitutes a string alias for the path name and creates a virtual drive. B. File management commands. Copy copies one or more files from source disk or drive to the specified disk or drive. Xcopy copies files and directories including lower level directories if they exist. Del or del removes specified files from specified disk or drive. Ren or ren changes the name of a file, that is renaming. Attrib or attrib sets or shows file attributes, that is read, write, hidden, archive. Backup stores or backup one or more files or directories from source disk or drive to other destination disk or drive. Restore restores files that were backed up using backup command. Edit provides a full screen editor to create or edit a text file. Format formats a disk or drive for data storage and use. C. General commands. Time sets or displays the system time. Date sets or displays the system date. Type displays the contents of at the specified file. Prompt customizes the DOS command prompt. General rules for executing DOS commands. File name rule. Maximum length of the file name can be of 8 characters. Characters that you can use to name a file can be all letters of alphabets. Uppercase or lowercase are treated as same. Numbers, punctuation marks, except the punctuation marks given in the brackets. A file can have an extension which can have a maximum length of 3 characters. Extensions are at the end of the file name. A period distinguishes between a file name and the extension. Example, letter.txt or text, where letter is the file name and txt is an extension. Wildcard characters. DOS supports 2 wildcard characters and these are question mark and asterisk. These wildcard characters allow to specify whole group of file name. The question mark stands for any single character in the specified position within the file name or extension, and the asterisk stands for any set of character starting at the specified position within the name or extension and continuing to the end of the file name or extension. Windows. In the year 1980, Microsoft developed Windows, which used the DOS platform for its execution, replacing command line interface. Windows used Graphical User Interface or GUI. Windows 3.1 was not an operating system, it was an operating environment. As it forced DOS to support multitasking, it was unstable and used to crash or got hanged on various occasions. Microsoft introduced an operating environment named Windows on November 20, 1985 as a graphical operating system shell for MS-DOS in response to the growing interest in graphical user interfaces or GUI. Windows allowed file name with more than 8 characters maximum up to 256 characters. Other family members of Windows 3.1 and 3.11 are Windows 95, 97, Windows NT, Windows 2000, Windows ME and Windows XP. The main features of Windows are easy to use graphical user interface or GUI, device-independent graphics and multitasking support. The first version of Windows 1.0 was introduced in 1985. Windows was an application of MS-DOS using the basic commands of DOS. Windows 95, released in 1995, is a 32-bit operating system which includes MS-DOS 7.0 and takes control of the computer system after starting. The main features of Windows 95 are: Windows 95 is easier to learn and use than any of its predecessors. Windows 95 and its applications run under the PC's protected mode, which means that one ill-behaved program cannot compromise the memory and resources of another. This approach adds a large measure of reliability to the total operating environment. The crash of a single program does not automatically crash the operating system or any of the other programs. Windows 95 is a preemptive multitasking, meaning that programs running in the background do not significantly degrade the interactive program that you are running in the foreground. For example, you can comfortably type into word processors while your database system backs up all its files. Windows 95 integrates virtually all of your computing tasks and resources like networks, email, multimedia, system administration, printing, faxing and applications into one common user interface. The Start button. The Start button, also called a Start menu, is the gateway to start various applications which work on Windows platform. All those applications which are installed in Windows have their self-executable files shortcut stored on Start menu. Taskbar. The bar that contains the Start button and appears by default at the bottom of the desktop. All the running programs are displayed on the taskbar. Desktop. The area on the screen which shows icons, menus, taskbar and dialog boxes, etc. Icon. An icon is a picture. Windows 95 uses small video icons that represent objects like documents, applications, folders, devices and computers. An icon has a text level that further describes the object. Icons on the desktop. The upper left corner contains 4 icons. Those icons provide access to your files and documents. These are My Computer. The My Computer icon will provide access to various resources of the computer. You can even access various parts of the computer through the control panel like the mouse, printer, display, keyboard, etc. The contents of the My Computer window depends on the disk drives on your PC and the network support that is installed. Network Neighborhood. This icon displays the computers and shared printers connected on the Windows network. Recycle Bin. This icon receives all deleted objects like files, folders, documents, applications, etc. These deleted objects can be retrieved back by dragging it out of the recycle bin and dropping it onto the desktop or into a folder, or they can be permanently deleted from the disk by choosing Empty Recycle Bin selection on the File menu. Briefcase. The commonly used personal documents can be put or stored in the briefcase. This briefcase can be moved to a disk or copied across a network. Putting new objects on the desktop. New objects can be added to the desktop by dragging and dropping them from other locations or creating them on the desktop. Folders. To add a folder to the desktop, move the mouse cursor to an empty spot on the desktop and press the right mouse button. Click the Folder command. A folder icon labeled New Folder appears on the desktop. Label can be changed by selecting it. Drag the folder to a convenient place on the desktop. Documents. The reference to the current documents is stored in the Documents object. The Documents list includes word processing documents, spreadsheets, database files, graphic files, etc. Now let us look at the UNIX operating system. UNIX is an operating system which was first developed in the 1960s and has been under constant development ever since. By operating system, we mean the suite of programs which make the computer work. It is a stable, multi-user, multitasking system for servers, desktops and laptops. UNIX, like other operating systems, is a layer between the hardware and the applications that run on the computer. It is functions that manage the hardware and functions that manage executing applications. UNIX systems also have a graphical user interface or GUI similar to Microsoft Windows, which provides an easy-to-use environment. However, knowledge of UNIX is required for operations which was not covered by a graphical program or for when there is no Windows interface available, such as in a telnet session. Features of UNIX. Multi-user. More than one user can use the machine at a time, supported via terminals or serial or network connection. Multitasking. More than one program can be run at a time. Hierarchical directory structure to support the organization and maintenance of files. Portability versions of UNIX. There are many different versions of UNIX, although they share common similarities. The most popular varieties of UNIX are Sun Solaris, GNU or Linux, and Mac OS X. Fedora Linux on the servers and desktop PCs. Most of the school use Solaris on the servers and workstations, and Fedora Linux on the servers and desktop PCs. Parts of the UNIX system. The UNIX operating system is made up of three parts: the kernel, the shell, and the programs. The kernel. The kernel of UNIX is the hub of the operating system. It allocates time and memory to programs and handles the file store and communications in response to system calls. The part of UNIX that manages the hardware and the executing processes is called the kernel. In managing all hardware devices, the UNIX system views each device as a file called a device file. This allows the same simple method of reading and writing files to be used to access each hardware device. The file system manages read and write access to user data and to devices, such as printers attached to the system. For example, the shell and the kernel work together. Suppose a user types rm myfile, which has the effect of removing the file myfile. The shell searches the file store for the file containing the program rm and then requests the kernel through system calls to execute the program rm on myfile. When the process rm myfile has finished running, the shell then returns the UNIX prompt % to the user, indicating that it is waiting for further commands. The shell. The shell acts as an interface between the user and the kernel. When a user logs in, the login program checks the username and password and then starts another program called the shell. The shell is a command line interpreter or CLI. It interprets the commands the user types in and arranges for them to be carried out. The commands are themselves programs. When they terminate, the shell gives the user another prompt. % on our systems. The shell keeps a list of the commands you have typed in. If you need to repeat a command, use the cursor keys to scroll up and down the list or type history for a list of previous commands. Starting at UNIX terminal. To open an UNIX terminal window, click on the terminal icon from Applications or Accessory menus. An UNIX terminal window will then appear with a % prompt, waiting for you to start entering commands. Importance of UNIX: supports multi-user and multitasking, adaptability and simplicity, flexible file system, excellent network environment, portable, provides better security. Let us quickly now summarize what we have learned today. An operating system is a program which acts as an interface between a user and the hardware. An operating system is an important component of a computer system which controls all other components of the computer system. Disk operating system refers to an operating system software used in most computers that provides the abstraction and management of secondary storage devices and the information on them. Example, file systems for organizing all sorts of files. Such software is referred to as a disk operating system when the storage devices it manages are made of rotating platters such as floppy disks or hard disks. Microsoft introduced an operating environment named Windows on November 20, 1985 as a graphical operating system shell for MS-DOS in response to the growing interest in graphical user interfaces or GUI. Windows allowed file name with more than 8 characters, maximum up to 256 characters. Other family members of Windows 3.1 and 3.11 are Windows 95, 97, Windows NT, Windows 2000, Windows ME and Windows XP. The main features of Windows are easy to use graphical user interface or GUI device, independent graphics and multitasking support. UNIX is an operating system which was first developed in the 1960s and has been under constant development ever since. By operating system, we mean the suite of programs which make the computer work. It is a stable, multi-user, multitasking system for servers, desktops and laptops. That is all for today. Hope you have understood the concept of operating system, DOS and UNIX. We'll see you soon with another topic on computers. Till then, take care and bye-bye.